For business dealings in China, caution is advised due to the potential for both financial and product losses. Business trips to China might be fraught with danger and filled with trepidation. We will share the most authentic and startling stories and data to illustrate how the business environment for foreign companies in China is deteriorating like never before. National Public Radio in the United States, in one of its reports, cited example of the German ladder manufacturer Monk Group to illustrate the difficulties some German companies are facing while doing business with China. According to the managing director of Monk Group, Ferdinand Monk, on one occasion, the Monk Group placed a large order and paid in advance, but the Chinese counterparts failed to deliver. The Monk Group urgently made phone calls to negotiate, but no one answered. The Monk Group then sent representatives to China, only to find upon arrival at the factory that it was deserted, with only a security guard at the main gate. Incredibly, the company had vanished, along with the Monk Group's payments and goods. Monk feels that doing business with China is becoming increasingly depressing. Monk's company started doing business in China 20 years ago, encouraged by the German government to cooperate with Chinese companies, under the promise of a win-win situation. However, the bizarre experience that led to significant losses has caused the Monk Group to lose faith in Chinese business partners. Now, the Monk Group prefers to pay more to do business with trusted European suppliers, just for a peace of mind, avoiding the risk of sudden breach of trust and consequent losses. The Monk Group is just one of the representative German businesses that had operated in China, and their experience has forced them to distance themselves from the Chinese market. In the wake of the slowdown in China's economic recovery post-pandemic, a recent survey by the German Chamber of Commerce in China shows that the percentage of German companies withdrawing from China or considering abandoning the Chinese market has more than doubled, skyrocketing from 4% in 2020 to 9%. The organization states that this survey highlights a range of challenges faced by German companies operating in China, including increasingly strong competition from local companies, unfair market access, economic difficulties, and geopolitical risks. The survey also revealed that around 2% of the 566 German companies surveyed between September 5th and October 7th last year are divesting their business operations in China, and 7% are considering doing so. Additionally, 44% of German companies are taking measures to mitigate their risks in China, including strengthening supply chains independent from China. 86% of these companies believe that the Chinese economy is facing a downward trend. Following China's sudden announcement in December 2022 to lift its stringent zero-COVID lockdown and control policies, the economy did not experience the rebound anticipated by the global economy. Instead, the worsening real estate crisis, escalating deflation risk, and weak domestic and external demand have cast a further shadow over the economic outlook for 2024. About 6 months before the survey was published, the German government changed its stance from encouraging German businesses to develop economic and trade relations with China that started over 20 years ago. It announced a de-risking strategy to reduce economic with China, its largest trading partner. The survey that reflected German companies' reduced dependence on China also mirrors this policy shift. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock warned in a national security strategy meeting in June 2022, the German government cannot rescue the German companies investing in China. This aligns with the European Union's latest terminology, positioning China as an economic competitor and systemic rival, indicating the German government's adoption of a new de-risking strategy. China's increasingly aggressive stance on Taiwan and on the issue of South China Sea, coupled with the tightened control over its domestic economy, has not only deterred German businesses but also prompted other Western countries to pursue risk reduction strategies. Compared to other European and American companies that have decisively left, German businesses, especially in the automotive sector, have been more sticky towards China. German car brands are highly popular among China's middle and affluent classes as a status symbol, creating a huge market demand that makes it difficult for German automakers to leave. However, reality has a chilling effect for the German companies. For instance, BMW experienced the ice cream incident on April 2023, where at the Shanghai Auto Show, 2 female BMW employees were rumored to have distributed ice cream only to foreigners and not to Chinese people, sparking significant domestic outcry and accusations of insulting China. This incident led to a steep decline in BMW's stock price, with direct losses exceeding 16.3 billion yuan. Such incidents leave German companies in a state of fear and distress. Let's look at this long list of companies that have withdrew from the Chinese market. American companies like Oracle, Amazon, Yahoo, Citibank, LinkedIn, Japanese companies such as Toshiba, Sony, Canon, Ricoh, Nikon, Suzuki, South Korean firms like Samsung, Lotte, French companies like Carrefour, Auchan, German retailers Metro AG, Dutch company Philips. All these international renowned companies have already exited the Chinese market, as observers have noted.
It's taken a dramatic turn in the last 18 months. Just the geopolitical tensions have really trumped everything else. We expected to see more companies, consider exiting China when.
In November 2023, American asset management giant Vanguard Group and the management consulting company Gallup, that all operates based on polls, both announced the closure of their operations in China and their withdrawal from the market. Prior to this, Forrester, a company focusing on tech consulting, had already cut most of its local analysts in China. And Gerson Leman Group from the US, initially planning to expand its operations in China this year, started layoffs in the summer. Even in the manufacturing sector, which is highly dependent on China, like Apple, which has been deeply rooted in China for decades, is now moving some of its manufacturing and production to countries like India and Vietnam. These instances are merely a snapshot of Western companies preparing to leave China. A survey published by the Conference Board in November 2023 indicates that CEOs of multinational corporations in China are losing confidence in the country. The survey, which included 35 CEOs primarily from American and European companies operating in China, showed that the number of respondents with negative views outnumbered those with positive views. The organization also found that 40% of the surveyed CEOs expect capital investment to decrease, and nearly as many chief executives also anticipate layoffs in the next 6 months, a significant increase from only 9% in the first half of the year. Another sign of China's diminishing attractiveness is that, as of the end of September 2023, foreign enterprises have been withdrawing profits from China for 6 consecutive quarters, totaling over $160 billion. This continuous outflow of profits has led to a negative growth in foreign direct investment in China for the first time in 25 years during the third quarter. According to data released by China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange on November 3, 2023, the FDI deficit in the third quarter was a negative $11.8 billion. This is the first time a quarterly deficit has been recorded since 1998, indicating that businesses scaling down have surpassed new investments. Bloomberg reported that from December 2021 to the end of June 2023, a staggering 1.37 trillion yuan of foreign capital have been withdrawn, not including the record $12 billion outflow from the Chinese stock market in August. Overseas capital is also accelerating their exit from China's mainland stock market. The Financial Times reported that over 3/4 of the foreign capital that flowed into the Chinese stock market in the first 7 months of 2023 has left. Global investors have sold over $25 billion worth of Chinese A shares through the Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect and Shenzhen Hong Kong Connect since August 2023. This marks the largest and longest duration of capital outflow through these mechanisms since the launch of Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect in November 2014. For an individual company or the national security of a country, the main reason why many Western CEOs and governments are distancing themselves or de-risking from China is trust. What has led to this loss of trust in the Chinese business environment for foreign enterprises? Under the atmosphere of national security first, many foreign companies are being scared away and some are avoiding business travels to China as much as possible. After opening up to the world economy, China has always strived to showcase its political and economic achievements to the outside world. However, now foreign companies are wary of entering China to experience the Chinese dream firsthand. Instead, they're observing from afar. This phenomenon is happening because of the Chinese dream promoted by Chinese leader Xi Jinping being perceived as a dystopian vision reminiscent of Orwell's Animal Farm, creating an aura of authoritarianism that many find alarming. A global fund manager survey by Bank of America in mid-September showed that due to concerns about China's economic downturn, a large amount of foreign capital is leaving China, and avoiding China has become one of the most steadfast beliefs among investors. Simultaneously, there have been incidents of foreign executives being prohibited from leaving China by the Chinese government. The latest case involves Michael Chan, a managing director of the Hong Kong-based American risk consulting firm Kroll, being banned from leaving China. Just days earlier, Charles Zhonghe Wang, chairman of the China Investment Banking Division of Nomura International in Hong Kong, was also reported to have been banned from leaving. These are part of a series of investigations launched by the Chinese Communist Party into American consulting firms like the Mintz Group and Bain & Company under the guise of national security. However, China seems to have become a forbidden land. In addition to foreign executives being banned from leaving China, business people outside China are also avoiding travel to the country, as trips there seem to be associated with certain risks. Some foreign companies verbally warn employees traveling to China, especially those who frequently express pro-democracy and freedom views on social media, to be extra cautious in their actions. On the policy front, travelers are issued clean laptop containing only the necessary materials for the trip, with instructions not to bring their company-issued laptops to China. Some companies even advise not to bring personal cell phones into China, but to use an old or unused clean phone without any unnecessary software or social media apps, and without any communication records, solely for contact with company and clients. These precautions are due to the strict search on computers and phones at Chinese customs, which could lead to the risk of company trade secrets or customer privacy being compromised. Even the personal safety of the traveling employees cannot be guaranteed. A survey related to the US government in October 2023 found that nearly 1/5 of respondents are reducing business travel to China. Tammy Krings, the CEO of ATG Travel Worldwide, stated that in recent weeks, there has been about a 25% increase in US companies canceling or postponing business trips to China. Dale Buckner, CEO of Global Guardian, an American international security service company, mentioned that over the past 8 months, some of his clients, including law firms, manufacturers, consulting firms, and others working in different sectors, have been detained or interrogated at airports or hotels in China, usually for 2 to 5 hours. Mr. Zhuang from Singapore, who works in product education training for a well-known American international pharmaceutical company, also had a similar harrowing experience. A few months ago, when he entered Hong Kong on a business trip, he was taken into a small room and his passport was confiscated. When he asked what the problem was, he was told there wasn't one. Mr. Zhuang said, "My feeling was that he needed someone else's approval. It wasn't a blacklist situation, but they didn't tell you what was wrong. They probably had to get an approval from a high level before I could go through." Mr. Zhuang was detained for about 20 minutes, and the Hong Kong custom officers directly explained to him that their actions were based on laws such as the national security law, counter-espionage law, foreign relation law, and anti-foreign sanction law. This almost amounted to they can do whatever they want, so there is indeed psychological pressure when traveling to China. Since this unpleasant experience, he has not received any requests to travel to mainland China for almost 2 years. Mr. Zhuang believes that in the ongoing tensions between the US and China, American identity might be more sensitive, especially if an leverage is found. They would use the so-called legal basis to detain individuals as bargaining chips in negotiations with the US. These real-life cases have made foreign business associates wary of the risk of being barred from leaving China, and those outside China are hesitant to travel there. After its economic reform and opening up, China has always sought to showcase its political and economic success, which heavily depended on opening its doors to attract global investment, leading to China's status as the world's factory. However, due to issues related to national security laws, foreign businesses are reluctant or trying to avoid mainland China as much as possible, signaling that China's era of reform and opening has ended, replaced by a clear trend towards a planned economy era, posing an even more severe challenge to China's hopes of attracting foreign investment. Under Xi Jinping's rule, national security has become a top priority. This trend started to emerge in Xi's second term and has become more pronounced in the post-pandemic era. The increasingly hostile business environment in China for foreigners, if continued, will only lead to foreign businesses planning their exit and gradually moving to more favorable nations. The CCP highly emphasizes organizational infiltration. It needs to ensure that its Communist Party members are infiltrating all organizations. Almost all organizations in China, including those of Taiwanese and Hong Kong businesses, have been infiltrated with the establishment of party organizations or branches within the businesses. This leaves foreign businesses as the last target for infiltration. The CCP may not be able to directly establish Communist Party branches in foreign companies, but it can demand foreign businesses to display their internal personnel files for the CCP to scrutinize. Through so-called rectification process, this essentially means that all business secrets must be disclosed to the CCP, naturally causing some foreign businesses to hesitate and continue their investments in China. To save foreign investment, the State Council of China issued a 24-point guideline covering 6 areas on August 13, 2023, promising that China will continue to commit to high-quality outward-facing economic environment. The Cyberspace Administration of China also released a proposal to ease cross-border data flow on September 28, 2023, seen as the most significant concession by the Chinese government to foreign companies to date. However, these are just superficial gestures by the CCP, not genuine concessions. As foreign capital is fleeing China and China needs foreign investment to save its economy, in reality, the CCP does not trust foreign businesses. If they partner with anti-communist groups within China or bring democratic or liberal ideas into China, it would be a nightmare for the CCP. In January 2024, at the Davos Forum, Chinese Premier Li Qiang addressed the global community, proclaiming China's commitment to enhancing its openness and attractiveness for ongoing global investments. He assured his dedication to improve China's commercial climate. However, the erosion of confidence in China among foreign businesses and investors can be attributed to the actual practices of the CCP. The persuasive narrative of the CCP, which had once misled Western countries for many years, now appears to be an unattainable goal. Consequently, Premier Li Qiang's statement at the Davos Forum appears to be lost on deaf ears.